Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the March 8th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. And if we could have a roll call, please.
Donna Perron, present.
Malcolm White, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
And Jim Gibberti, present. We have minutes from the February 22nd meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes of the meeting as written on February 22nd, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
400.
No.
Three.
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 She wasn't
Abstain.
here.
You abstained. I'm sorry. You weren't here.
I do.
I'm sorry. You're correct.
I was somewhere else in New England.
Yes, you were.
Babysitting.
That's right.
Kinda.
You were doing one of those important things. Sewer business, just as a point of information, there was a meeting regarding the Woodland Cove 40B sewer project, or rather 40B project. Mr. Campina sent a letter to the chairman of the ZBA with some of the recommendations that we had regarding a need analysis of the sewer pipes, manholes, pump stations at Depot Street and Dick's Pond pump stations. Cost for peer review by our engineers to be borne by proponents of the project. Mitigation of rags and grease potentially entering into the sewer system. And any other mitigation that the zoning board determines would be warranted. This was passed on to them, and we'll see where it goes from there. They have a large project that's going to potentially adversely impact the town, but we're not positive at the moment. There would have to be studies done and get more clarification on that. And hopefully, if there's any remedial work that needs to be done regarding the sewer, if it's in ground, it gets coordinated with the building of the road that the state is going to do, so people don't get impacted twice for the same kind of thing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may, I would suggest that you appoint somebody to attend these meetings of, I know the three of us were at the zoning board of appeals, but I think this is a really huge project, and somebody should be, we should probably put our ear to it a little bit more than I mean, it's no small thing, and it could
That's
bring
right.
us up to capacity, and I think it's important that one of us attend those meetings.
I go along with you 100%, especially under the circumstances where Guy couldn't make it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's understandable, that somebody should be there, at least,
Absolutely.
at least you just continue, as you did at the previous meeting, to make our point.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, who wants to volunteer, or do you want me to just appoint?
It's totally up to you, Mr. Chairman. I just think it's an important.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, Donna.
Important point. I'm gonna be out of town for 3 weeks in April, so maybe I wouldn't be the better one to do this.
Why don't I appoint you, Peter, and if you
Well,
can't make it, let me
if you
know.
want, I'll accept that, but by the same token, if we want to wait till we see when the next meeting is,
Yeah.
and then just make sure one of us is
Right.
there, that's okay by me as well.
Exactly, and if I'm in town, I'm gonna go anyways, because I'm really concerned about this.
Yes,
But I know I'm not gonna be in town for 2 or 3 weeks.
But I will accept it if that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah,
All right, and
Not a problem.
if you can't make it,
One of
Yeah,
us
if I
will
can't
cover.
make it, make sure I get somebody to cover.
yeah, that's
You
all.
got it.
Not a problem. Okay. All right, just for FYIs, I'm gonna do, all of you get, an email from Guy, I know you have, Donna,
Yeah.
on the Massachusetts Water and Sewer Rate Surveys.
Yes, I got a
I have the
package.
cover sheet on it, and I know you have the
Package,
full
yeah.
thing. I had, well, after you've gone over it and have some comments, I've got a lot of questions just from the cover sheet alone that just don't
Okay,
fit. I mean, we're making assumptions that probably aren't necessarily the same ones that need to be made for the town of Wareham. So, okay, there was a corrosion report that was submitted to us. And going over the executive summary, I think if people haven't seen it or gone over it, I'd like to have you just go over it.
I
before we
haven't
go.
seen it. My computer crashed last week. I just get my printer up and running, and then my computer crashed, so I haven't seen any of the,
That was sent out?
It's in, yeah, it's in the, that's just the first 4 pages of the, that's just the executive summary of it. So, I mean, it's something that if we can, you know, get a chance to read it before the next meeting, if anybody's got comments, we can bring that up to
and what is it called?
corrosion.
I've got
report.
it, I haven't read it.
Yeah, no, well, it's just the executive summary I'm talking about now, because
Okay.
the report is quite voluminous, and it's. All right, what else do we have in this mess? Does anybody have anything you want to throw into the fray?
Do you want to mention Water Warriors at this point, or if you want to?
Yeah, good point, thanks. That's what it is, that's what I was gonna do. For those of you that are so riveted by the affairs of this board and watch it with unceasing regularity, we had Water Warriors in here a couple of weeks back explaining their micro bubble aeration proposal on how it was gonna benefit us and do all kinds of good things for us. One of the questions from this body came up after the fact regarding how does it react to and handle grease, and what will it do there. So I, in turn, based on the information in their booklet they provided to all of us, I sent a note to Steve Chamberlain at the Water Warriors Solution, asking this specific question and looking for a reply. And as of this date, I have heard absolutely nothing, so. And it's been over 2 weeks now,
Yeah.
closer to a month. So I don't know what the situation is, but that's where that sits at the moment. They have been contacted, at least by me. Now, whether or not they deem it apropos to respond, I don't know.
Does, speaking of grease, is our grease sealer working, or is, I hear it doesn't work frequently, and I'm just wondering, what I heard incorrect or correct, or what?
Does anybody have, I can't answer that. That's why I had Grease Sealer update on
Okay.
the agenda for tonight, but Guy is not here because he's sick.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry to hear that.
So-
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, then I withdraw
so-
my question.
Okay, well, it'll show back up next meeting.
Sure.
It's definitely something we're gonna have to have before town meeting.
Yep.
Because you know that's gonna come up when we go looking for more money.
The other thing that I was gonna suggest, that whoever speaks for the sewer commissioners at the town meeting, it not be you, because you're hard to get. You wanna get a strong voice like Peters or Max out there you just don't have it
I
in
know,
your voice.
Ever since the accident, it's.
No,
this is-
I know,
got what I've
and I
got.
don't, I'm just.
It's gone.
I just want somebody
Well,
to,
that and he was caught by surprise that he had to do it at all.
yeah, well, one of us, somebody has to do it, so.
That's why I pushed him out in front of me.
Well, I just want to make sure that, that it wouldn't be so bad even if you had a few words to say too, if somebody, a couple of the commissioners did.
I mean, if I could enunciate louder than I am right now, I'm
Yeah.
at the top of the range at the moment.
Exactly. And
just-
you can't.
What can I tell you? It is what it is,
No, exactly.
you know? Could be worse.
It was just.
It could
meant
be a
as
mime.
It was meant as a helpful hint.
No offense taken, none whatsoever. I fully understand that.
Constructive criticism.
Hey, I'm well aware of that problem. All right,
So is this what we're gonna, present to the town meeting like this, or?
that one, no, this was what was presented to the, I'm not sure how the warrant article, I mean, I'm not
Right.
sure the exact format on the, at the warrant. I
Right.
believe this will probably be the format in the booklet with the rest of it. But this was what we had to present to the selectmen in request to get it on the warrant. They
Right,
have approved it, so it is on the warrant.
okay.
Before I get into that any further, any more on the sewer business, because I've got this on the agenda, a couple items down.
What, oh, you're not discussing this right now, I'm
No,
sorry.
we're going right down to it in a
Okay,
second.
all right, because I have a bunch of stuff
Yep.
on the warrant I want to do.
Anything else on just general sewer business? Okay, superintendent is not here, he's ill. And unfinished business, the consolidation of policies we expected to do tonight, we're not able to
Well,
because Guy isn't here.
if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead.
Let me toss out a couple of the questions that I had for Guy, for your comments. Considering after this past storm, how long we were without power, should we be requiring them to have anybody connecting to a gravity, to a force main, to have pump power? Auxiliary power in their lift station?
Well,
Yes.
it certainly seems like we should. I wouldn't want to make that decision without him being here.
Well, if you read the policy the way it's written right now,
Yeah,
they're supposed to have 48 hours of retention after the
Exactly.
high water alarm,
exactly.
okay? But let's face it, we were without power for more than 48 hours. What happens?
Have to ask.
I mean,
The
if you
topic
take
tonight.
something like Brandy Hill, that apartment complex, what do?
Well, they have generators for their emergency stuff.
But does the generator power this lift station? And if it doesn't, should we require it?
Only because Brandy Hill was in my portfolio at one time. I think it does. But should we require?
Should it be in the
future?
policy is my
Sure.
point, though,
Yeah,
Donna.
yeah, and I think it's a really good point. Yeah.
What about on the residential?
I think it should be too. If they're gonna lose their power, I mean, here it is, New England, 48 hours, we should, but I guess it's a discussion I wouldn't feel comfortable without having him here. But I think it's a good point to bring up when Guy's here next meeting. I think it's a very good point to bring up. And I don't know if you all saw the memo that he sent out, but I thought it was really good, updating us all on what was going on. I thought it was a really, really good memo to let us know what was going on and what was happening. Kudos to him, kudos.
Okay, that was one of my questions, as far as including it in the policy. And the other thing is, do we want to, we've more or less given the authority over to the superintendent. When they're gonna cut into a force main, do a wet tap, we're gonna obviously require a high bond because that can blow our whole system if they damage that pipe. Do we want to be part of the approving authority, or do we want to let Guy handle it, the superintendent handle it?
I personally would want to let him handle it, only because I don't want to slow things down waiting for us. And he knows more about it, I mean, he knows. That's just my opinion.
What do you think, Mac?
They either have the right dollar amount in the bond or they don't. It's a
Exactly.
yes or no. We don't really need to look at it if they meet the minimum,
So,
whatever that number is.
well, that's it.
Million, 2 million,
He's
whatever it
going
is.
to establish that on a case-by-case basis.
But he could, we could be informed that they didn't indeed meet all the parameters.
Well, do we want to be part of the
If you
approval?
want you want that on record, but
Well,
I think he can handle that,
Yeah.
sure.
All right,
I do too, but I think, as Max said.
But we should
gotta have a
know,
good
we should
size-
know what the limit is
And he should know
I agree
what,
with
the
that.
bond,
on the bond.
Yeah.
and he'll know the ramifications, if they have to have $1 million or if they have to have $5 million.
Exactly.
You know, he'll know by the project what it could do, what the worst scenario could be.
Yep.
And I would,
so we'll be informed, but we don't necessarily have to be part of the approval.
I don't think so.
Okay, all right, I just want to know how we all feel about writing it.
Just to regress
Okay,
back
gotcha.
on,
Right, as long as we're informed ahead of time,
yeah.
Yep.
not after the fact. You know,
Well,
why would
I'm
we
sure
be-
he's going to have
Why would we
the,
be informed, though, if it was,
somebody else,
if they had,
somebody,
if they had the bond?
if the bond is enough, if we feel that the bond is enough, we may have a reason
But
that we don't feel that the bond is enough, and we can discuss it at that point,
Do
because
any
right
of us,
now,
yeah, but we don't know what the ramifications of the specific situation is going to be, right? We don't. He does. He knows if the worst case scenario,
then it
this
would be
could
nice,
happen.
then it would be nice to have them let us know that, so we're aware of that also, you know, beforehand. That's
Okay.
all.
well,
I guess if it,
he does keep us informed.
Yeah,
he
whenever
does, he does,
wants.
and to keep it simple, if it's a 2-inch force main versus a 4-inch force main, and it's DI versus PVC, and the age, and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and you look at the number, well, maybe $500,000's not enough here.
Right.
So,
$500,000 is not going to be enough anyplace in
You
when
know
it's
what
on
I'm
our
saying?
force main.
Exactly.
it depends, so we rely on him.
Each
for
one
that.
is gonna be different, and
I,
tell
I,
us why.
and I
Oh,
agree.
Let's face it, it's going to cost us, what did we say, roughly 2.2 to replace that line from the Narrows to the plant.
No, that's the line.
So if they were cutting in, say Brandy Hills was just coming online now and they were cutting in, we'd want a $2 million bond. Because we know that's what it's gonna cost to fix that line.
Exactly.
But so it's agreed then we'll be informed, but not necessarily part of the approval.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, fine.
I- I would like the bond to be reasonable, though, because in the
yes.
end, the customer's gonna pay the
Exactly.
damn bond.
Yeah.
And
So it has to be in proportion, has to be realistic.
we
it
can-
has to
That's
be,
all.
it has to be reasonable.
You
and
got,
realistic.
you gotta be reasonable.
Yeah.
Not a question. No
And
argument.
this, if we can't come to a consensus on the generator thing to regress a little bit, we should reserve the right to review that
Yep.
line item.
Maybe that's the way I'll write it. The bonders will be reviewable by the
You know.
commissioners.
That's fine.
But I'll let the approval go through just the way it was previously written. Okay, fine, terrific, guys, thank you.
Okay. Greaseller update, we don't have one, I've skipped that. Okay, back now to the town meeting warrant article. For those out there that don't know, we have a warrant article for $10 million to repair the sewer pipe from the intersection of Swiss Beach Road and Mather Road to the Narrows Pump Station. Now, this starts down on the lower left-hand, I don't know, can you see that, Bob?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The lower left-hand corner of the map, that little red line, I think it is, I guess it is, down at the bottom. Follows that black line all the way around and up, across the top, over to the other side. Starts all the way down, keep going down the bottom. Yeah, right down there. Starts down there.
All the way up Swiss Beach Road, behind, under Ripley's Trailer Park,
Around the marsh,
all the way over to Viking Drive,
Kennedy Lane, to High Street,
to Kennedy Lane, Kennedy Lane is a forced main.
Right,
So it comes up to High Street. I think
that's right.
this 60 feet, I think, is going to be done in advance because
It's
I
so,
think that's
it's
being
so
done
bad.
pretty quick.
Right,
And down Sawyer Street,
across
down
Main Street.
Main Street a little, behind the fire station, and all along Merchant's Way.
Down the back to the Narrows Pump Station. We're looking at line that is cracked, leaking, defective, has deteriorated. Deterioration of the steel reinforced concrete, 21-inch to 18-inch sewer pipe running along the marsh. You know, it's 2.2 miles of pipe. We don't, unfortunately, we don't have it with us tonight, but any of you that have seen this before, we do have a picture of a leak that's coming in on Merchant's Way that needs to be stopped. But the leak that's coming in is costing us, here we have it coming out, and we'll show you the leak. That's the biggest problem. That's the only one I need.
Wow.
Wow.
That leak that's coming in on Merchant's Way, just to put things in a little bit of perspective,
Put some dollar signs on the
I'm
floor.
going, well, the dollar signs on that leak is $400,000 a year for
Oh.
treatment.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
We- You know, on that basis, that leak alone, if we stop that, that just about covers that 10 million we're after.
It's how much?
$400,000 a year
400,000, yeah.
for treatment costs.
So
At
just
8
filling
cents a
that will
gallon.
pay for this loan in 10, 20 years.
Well, so
Well,
in 10
most
years,
of it.
put another zero on that. And that's
Yeah.
not with inflation, that's 4 million,
And that's one.
correct?
Yep.
Right? That's the one that's, biggest one we found at the moment.
That's one.
So, I guess all we're trying to say here is that we are trying to stay ahead of the problems that exist out there. And we do have a lot of problems because the system is old, needs work that hasn't been done, and hasn't been found that needed to be done. Now we're finding it, we're cameraing lines, we're looking at problems that exist that you can't see. And we're looking at lining this pipe, not removal and replace. You know, that's gonna basically do two things. One, we'll be able to get it done in a shorter span of time, with less disruption to everybody. So we would certainly appreciate your supporting this article at town meeting. Does anybody have anything they want to toss out?
Well, I think that it's important to stress that, you know, we regret the increase that we have to pass on to the users. However, surrounding towns are paying a higher use than we are. So we're not being unreasonable, and we're only asking right now for something that's absolutely necessary. And it might not hurt to have some of the surrounding towns' numbers available to the person that's going to speak.
It might be good to point out that this is the most cost-effective method of handling the problem. That if we were to dig it up and replace it, it would be, what, 4 times as much?
At least.
Well, that might be well to point out, that
Only, yeah, well, we'll have to try to get those numbers together, because the cost to dig up and replace, remove and replace, not only from a dollar standpoint, but also a time standpoint, would be.
and the
then-
disruption.
And with some of the area that we're going through, the extent of time to get approval to be able to do it on a remove and replace could be exorbitant and could exceed the life expectancy of what the pipe would be, so. I mean, the direction that we're trying to go in right now is most cost-effective overall for the town, for everybody concerned. So, okay, next, anything?
Nope.
Mac?
No, I have nothing.
Okay.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, everybody's voting on this one. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next meeting is the 22nd of March.
I don't think I'll be here.